that all comments are to be directed through the chair. Now, when I dropped the gavel, I saw Mr. Chong, Mr. Cooper, Mr. Ellis, Mr. Berthold, and then Ms. Khalid came up. So I'm going to start.
I'm so very sorry, Chair. I thought that I had requested that I be second after, and I have given notice. I had my hand up. I would really appreciate that, Chair.
Sorry, Ms. Khalid, but the meeting hadn't started. I didn't hear your comments
but
because I was talking
to
the analyst.
Point of order.
Go ahead, Mr. Housefather, on your point of order.
Yeah, Ms. Khalid clearly spoke before anybody else had their hand up, Mr. Chair. You convened this meeting at a time without consulting anybody else on the committee. And to be honest, I thought that was exceptionally unfair of you.
Mr. Housefather
clearly demonstrated her request to speak before any of the other people had their hands up.
The gavel had not dropped, Mr. Housefather.
This guy's garage. Like and subscribe.
But you were aware that she asked, Mr. Chair.
I was talking to the analyst at the time, Mr. Housefather, and I can assure you that this meeting has been convened in accordance with the standing orders and the rules of the House of Commons. So I am going to start with Mr. Chong. I'm going to keep the list, and Ms. Khalid, you will go when you're recognized on the floor. Mr. Chong, you have the floor. Go ahead.
In light of the February 28th, 2024 tabling of the Winnipeg lab documents, which contained the government's own findings, concluding that the People's Republic of China and its entities infiltrated Canada's top microbiology lab, a national security breach representing a very serious and credible threat to Canada. And given that access to this information had been denied to Parliament and all Canadians by the government for several years, the committee undertake a study pursuant to Standing Orders 108, 3, H, 6, and 7 of the collection and transmission of information and intelligence within the Government of Canada and the government's reliance on its overclassification to deny access to it by Parliament and Canadians, provided that the committee report its findings to the House and call the following witnesses to appear. A, the Departmental Security Officer, Executive Director of Security, Public Health Agency of Canada, the Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Stephen Lucas, the Vice President, Infectious Diseases Branch, Public Health Agency of Canada, Dr. Donald Shepard, the Vice President, National Microbiology Laboratory Branch, Public Health Agency of Canada, Dr. Guillaume Poliquin, the President of the Public Health Agency of Canada, Heather Jeffrey, the Minister of Health, the Honourable Mark Holland, the Director of the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, David Vigneault, the Deputy Clerk of the Privy Council and National Security and Intelligence Advisor to the Prime Minister, Nathalie Drouin, and the Minister of Public Safety, Democratic Institutions and Intergovernmental Affairs, the Honourable Dominic LeBlanc. Mr. Chair, I'd like to give a brief couple of minutes of remarks on this motion so that all members...
Thank you, Mr. Chong. Before you go ahead, the motion is in order, and my understanding is that the clerk has shared the motion in both official languages with all members of the committee.
Now, Mr. Chair, as Mr. Chong noted, the Prime Minister is singularly responsible for the machinery of government with special responsibilities for national security. But buck stops with the Prime Minister. And part of the questions that we need answers to is, when did the Prime Minister know about this massive national security breach? Did he learn about it in 2019, or did he learn about it in January of 2021? We don't know, or sometime in between. Let me conclude by saying very simply that the national security culture of the Government of Canada starts at the top. It starts with the Prime Minister, who has special responsibilities when it comes to national security. This Prime Minister set the tone for the national security culture when he said, famously, that he admires Beijing's basic dictatorship.
That the U.S. Centers for Disease Control states that Ebola is a Category A bioterrorism weapon. We know in March on March 31st, 2019, that Ebola was sent to the Wuhan Institute of Virology at the behest first in October, 18th of October 2018, of the Wuhan Institute of Virology, supervised by Dr. Chu here in Canada. Oddly enough, on the 19th of October 2018, Dr. Chu made a visit to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. One of many visits, at least 5 visits in 2017, 2018, of which Dr. Chu was not entirely open with respect to the Public Health Agency of Canada, knowing that Dr. Chu was visiting the Wuhan Institute of Virology, and of course they actually paid for her trip as well.
I move that we adjourn this meeting.
Point of order.
Mr. Chair, I request a recorded vote on this.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's fine, Mr. Chong.
Point of order.
It's
Point
not,
of order, Mr. Chair.
On a point of order, it's not debatable what Ms. Khalid just...
I just want clarification to the effect of what Ms. Khalid has moved is to shut down debate.
I'm so sorry, Chair, but no, I refuse to let
That's debate, Mr.
this 106.4 to become political gander for
Ms.
my
Khalid, I've already addressed that with Mr. Cooper, and for those who are watching at home, this is a dilatory motion to stop the meeting before a decision is rendered. So I am going to ask the clerk, it is non-debatable. Mr. Chong has asked for recorded division, and I'm going to ask the clerk.
Sorry, Chair, it sounds like you're debating a little bit there.
No, I'm explaining, Ms. Khalid.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay? I'm explaining exactly what's going on here, and that there is no further debate, that you have asked that this meeting be adjourned without a decision of the committee being made. I'm explaining.
Because this is not the mandate of the committee, Chair.
That's your opinion. Go ahead, Madam Clerk.
The vote is on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Baines.
Yes.
Ms. Damoff.
Yes.
Mr. Sorbar.
Yes, please.
Mr. Hausvater.
Yes.
Ms. Khalid.
Yes.
Mr. Cooper.
No?
Mr. Chong.
No.
Mr. Ellis.
No.
Monsieur Villemur.
Je suis contre.
Mr. Green.
Je vote pour la motion.
Yeas 6, nays 4.
So the motion to adjourn does carry by Ms. Khalid. This meeting is now adjourned.